Hello friends and welcome to my channel. My name is Jess, I'm the creator of Pinkrex, and today we're going to be going over my top 10 plant parent must-haves for 2022. In case you are new here, I make videos about plants, video games, and lots more, so if you like that kind of content and you haven't done this already, please offer to bake a cake for the like button's upcoming birthday party, but use toothpaste between the layers instead of frosting. Also, please subscribe to the channel down below and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my future uploads. Okay, when you first start getting into plants, you maybe buy a couple of plants that are already in pots. You don't think too much about the soil that they're in or possible pests that might have come with them. So this list is just 10 of the things that I like to have that make me feel, I don't know, good about having plants. 10 things that definitely help with keeping plants, if nothing else. Before I get started on today's list, I am A, not sponsored by any of these, unless they wanted to sponsor me. That'd be cool. And B, I will make sure to put links to everything that I list in the description down below. So the first thing on my list today is potting mats. I actually have two potting mats. I have a larger one and a smaller one. I got them both from Amazon. The larger one I believe was roughly $13, but I got it on sale for $7. And the smaller one I think I paid $6 for. I don't know if it was on sale or not. I use these potting mats anytime I have to take a plant out of its pot, or even if I just want to check the roots of a plant, I will put this down. Even if I'm just adding a top dressing, or if I'm watering, or if I have a bunch of plants that I'm not really sure where to set them, I'll put it down. It is really great because it has this nice fabric backside, and then fabric backside, and it does have button snaps so the sides come up. It's like a little soil tray, and then the top portion of the mat is actually waterproof. It's kind of like a tarp almost, like a thick tarp that snaps together, and it folds up really nice. Again, this is the smaller of the two, so this one is pretty small. Folds up to be the size of like a shoebox. I just use them constantly. I cannot recommend them enough. I think that everybody who has plants should probably have a set of potting mats. The number 2 item on my list today is having a pair of nice sharp snips. This is my pair of Fisker's snips. They're super nice. I use them all the time. They have this nice click closure that when you release it, it just keeps them from coming open. And they have a spring so that they open on their own between when you're using them. They're super nice because they have a nice point to them and you can reach in underneath leaves, and it makes it so much easier to just keep up with dead leaves falling off plants. It also makes it a lot easier to propagate plants if you're worried about going in, wiggling between leaves and taking a cutting. Snips like these make it way easier. Now, these are snips because they have a straight blade. I also have a pair of pruners. Mine, I believe I got from Walgreens of all places, my pruners. These I got from Walmart. I think they were roughly $10. But my pruners I use for anything that has a little bit thicker of a stem, so definitely like my gigantium back there in the corner. I have cut that one twice with my pruners instead of my snips, just because these aren't big enough to fit around the thick stem of some larger aroids. I also have used the pruners to cut back things like my Dracaena tree, which is behind my camera, but I'll put a picture of it, I don't know. And I use my pruners on my outside plants all the time. I do want to mention that you should make sure to definitely sterilize either your snips or your pruners or pair of scissors or whatever in between cutting plants inside and outside, and in between cutting plants at all, just to avoid spread of diseases and stuff like that. The biggest reason I would recommend having a pair of snips or a pair of pruners rather than just grabbing a pair of scissors out of your kitchen drawer, why was that so hard to say? Wow. Is because with scissors, a lot of times you'll just have them laying around. They'll be old, they'll be used, they'll be a little bit dull, and that's going to leave a lot of fraying along the edges of your cut when you go to take a cutting of your plant. With something like snips or pruners, if you go to take that cutting, usually that's the only thing that these are used for, and they definitely get dull over time. I have a little sharpener that I use for them. But the goal is to have as clean of a cut as possible when you take a cutting of a plant, just because it helps speed along the healing process and definitely saves the plant a lot of stress over time. Also, it prevents the parent plant from infection by having that heal up as quick as possible too, so that's another plus. The number 3 item on my list probably seems kind of silly to some people, but it makes a lot of sense to me after having plants and propagating them for a long time, is to have an attractive propagation station. Now, mine is actually a propagation station that was gifted to me, but I have made quite a few propagation stations with using dollar store wood and twine and the little vials that they have at the dollar store. And those are all just fine. I just have this one up and presentable because it's a gift, and it makes me happy that somebody got me a planty gift. If propagating plants is something that you do for fun and something that you like to show people, I feel like for me especially, it helps to have a nice space that you can show people like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is how they're doing. I like to take them out and take little pictures. And a big part of having it be organized is that it makes it a lot easier to take them out and check on them rather than having to rifle through For me, I've tried lots of different methods. This one is 3 boards with a bunch of test tubes hanging in it. Again, I bought it that way, but you could easily make this out of wooden test tubes and twine. I really want to get an old chemistry set and make it into a propagation station just because I went to school for biology and plant science, so it's just a big part of how I identify as a person. And I think it's really important to have that integrated into how you grow your plants. The fact that they're in test tubes, that's a simple thing and it makes me happy. My number 4 must-have is the most important thing that I have gotten, I would say, in the past year, is actually having a pressurized sprayer for watering your plants or for treating your plants for pests or what have you. They are relatively cheap. I got mine on Amazon for about $16. I also got a small one from my local Dollar General for $6, so they're available pretty much anywhere. Just for reference, here is mine. I have it unscrewed, but it has this little pump and it has this little stick with a trigger, and it's not all the way screwed in right now, so it won't actually spray water because I have my computer here. And I do not trust myself. I do not. Not to mention it's just super fun to like spray plants with this wand. I don't know. This is really great for adding fertilizer just to the top layer of the soil before going back through and really watering it through. I like to try to keep up with preventative treatments of insecticidal soap and neem oil for my indoor plants just because dealing with pests, especially in the fall and winter, can be really, really stressful for your plants when they're coming out of their active growing season. Mine is a little bit dusty right now, but this is a 1-gallon sprayer. It has measurements and it has a bunch of different uses, I guess. But I would say the number 1 thing I've used it for is fertilizing and pest prevention, but it plays a really important role in my next point, which is having proper moss poles for your climbing plants. So this is my philodendron squamiferae. I just potted him up with his nice moss pole not that long ago, actually. So he is still acclimating. That's why he's looking a little bit droopy. And he's also in need of a drink. So I think we both are. But I have noticed since putting him on this moss pole that keeping up with maintaining moisture in the moss pole, I've been able to do through a couple of different methods. One of them being a wicking cord that I have attached at the top, and the other being the sprayer. I've also been using like water globes or travel water globes or little bottles to keep water in the pole during the day if I can. If I don't want to have a container of water sitting up here with the wicking cord, I can just put a water globe in the top, and over the next hour or two it'll kind of trickle down and evenly water the sphagnum moss in the pole, so that's always good. I've always had moss poles, but I've tried a couple of different types. This one is kind of a hardware fabric with sphagnum moss in it and a wicking cord on a support. But I've tried just wrapping moss around a support before, and that is significantly harder to maintain proper moisture levels for the roots to do what they're supposed to. So I would just say that this is much easier. The 5th must-have on my list is actually grow lights. This might seem kind of straightforward for a lot of people, but also I didn't realize how important grow lights were until I started using them and saw just tremendous improvement in my overall plant health. I have a lot of plants just sitting in the windowsill next to me. I also have some plants in a grow cabinet. Those all have lights, of course, and natural sun is always good for your plants, but you don't have nearly as much control as you do with grow lights, especially those that are on timers. I have several kinds of grow lights. I have used bulbs and lamps. I have friends that do that. I just don't have any of those right now because my space doesn't really allow for that sort of thing. But I do have lots of strip grow lights. I have some in my grow cabinet as well as some on my plant shelf to my left. I also have a standing grow light that just has 4 heads that are kind of tipped down over the top of my grow cabinet where I have more plants. I got both of the types that I'm using right now from Amazon, both the strips and the stand-up light with the head. The strips, I believe, were $25 each. It comes with a set of 4 strips that you have adhesive on the back of them. And the stand-up light, I think, was $40, and they all have a 12-hour timer attached to them. The 7th item on my list of must-haves is having a simple plant shelf. I know this probably sounds silly. This is one of my personal plant must-haves. Arranging my plant shelf above me, it's actually up on the wall, but I will add a picture of it or a video of it or something, has been one of my favorite things about keeping plants, especially this year in my new space. It also gives me a place to display my plants to my friends or when I'm filming videos, especially for TikTok or for Instagram. Things like that. I just like to keep them up there so I can show off the plants that I'm most proud of. It definitely doesn't have to be a hanging shelf. I also have a ladder shelf that has a bunch of plants on it. That one is significantly more chaotic because I'm not as worried about how it looks so much as I'm worried about having the plants be as happy as possible, whereas the one behind me I think is a nice mixture of both. But I do think that it's important to have a place that you're proud of to display your plants. My number 8 item on the list is definitely going to be either terrariums or propagation boxes to grow plant cuttings or smaller pieces of plants in. This is a jar I got from Walmart. I got it for $16, but I'm fairly certain it was supposed to be $25. It is, I believe, a 2-gallon jar. It's just a plain glass kind of cookie jar situation with a lid. I have a little imidrium silver, but the main goal is just to have a clear something to put some sphagnum moss in or some soil in and toss some plant cuttings on. Because if you have just single nodes or wet stick cuttings, you can just put them in there and they sort of just do their own thing. It's fun to watch them grow. I've only had one type of plant cutting not work in this jar so far, and that is my Rhaphidophora decursiva. For whatever reason, the cuttings I put in here are just not happy. And I'm not sure why. Maybe I should just toss this guy. He's got a root, but he's also got a rot, so you know, it's ugh. Smooshy. But you certainly don't have to have a special jar for it. You can toss cuttings in terrariums. I have many terrariums throughout my home. They're really great, especially if you're a pet owner, because your cats can't go in and mess with your plants. As long as you get the kind that has kind of like a little latch on it or a nice seal on the cork top. I also have this little moss box as a good example. I have a cutting of a Rhaphidophora hay growing in this one. It also has a bunch of moss I've been propagating. I get all my moss just from the woods, and then I've pretty much grown it up ever since I harvested it. Ooh. Occasionally doing it that way you do acquire some funky critters. But this has worked really well for this guy. He's got a nice little offshoot happening and he's starting to climb up the side of the box. So I need to get him on a moss board soon. Close, darn it. The number 9 item on my list today is cute plant decor. I don't mean necessarily having cute plant themed decor, although you could do that also. I just mean having cute decor with your plants that makes you happy. So cute plant decor can come in the form of having cute pots with cute little phrases, or it can be something that you made that you're happy about. This is just a little cubone skull that I 3D printed a long time ago. I think for me at least, having cute decor in with my plants reminds me that the plants are my space, and that makes me happy. So there. My 10th and final plant parent must-have for this year has definitely got to be any form of a plant hanger. I don't think that you should necessarily go out and buy plant hangers. This I made out of dollar store twine, and I use this kind of a hanger for 4 to 6 inch pots, and I just hang them up to save space on the ground and save them from my cats. Plant hangers are a really great option if you have a mischievous pet that likes to chew on and or knock over your plants, just because it usually kind of keeps them up out of harm's way. If you have a really creative cat like mine that can jump the height of the patio door, you'll probably have to hang them pretty high on the ceiling to get them safe, but I don't think she's intentionally a monster. She just likes to harass my plants. So up to my right, I have a kangaroo paw fern in this exact same type of plant hanger that I made. It's a 6-inch pot, and it has done so well since I've been able to hang it in front of the window, and it doesn't take up space on my windowsill or my floor that way. It's just hanging from the ceiling. I don't ever walk over there, but as long as they're not in a space that you're gonna walk and clunk your head on them, I think you should be okay. So that is gonna do it for today, guys. That is my top 10 plant parent must-haves for 2022. Let me know what you thought of the video, or if you have any plant parent must-haves that I didn't list. If you got something out of today's video and you haven't done this already, please offer to bake a cake for the Like Button's upcoming birthday party, but use toothpaste between the layers instead of frosting. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my future uploads. As always, if you'd like, you can find me on other social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok. I have a ton of content over on TikTok. Go check it out. Lots of planty stuff. So whether I see you on a different social media platform or down in the comment section below, please comment something. Just know I really appreciate you being here, and I still have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, thanks, bye. I seriously don't think you should go through life as a plant parent without a potting mat. You should get one.